So welcome students. We're going to get started with our Project Horseshoe Farm virtual information session. We have representatives from the organizations on hand today, and they're going to be able to share this exciting opportunity, their fellow program, and all the wonderful things that their organization does. So I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. And we are recording the session, so if you have to head out early or you need the information afterwards, it's going to be available on our YouTube page. So I'll turn it over to presenters, let them introduce themselves and go into the topic for the day.
All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary.
And I'm Rachel.
And we are two of the current Community Health Fellows of this year. And we're just going to give you a little information on our program, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end, or if you have them along the way, just throw them in the chat box.
Mm-hmm. And just as a disclaimer, we are talking to you from Greensboro right now, and so it's very possible that our audio might go in and out, or video, so please don't feel free to interrupt if the audio breaks out, because unfortunately we're not operating off the best connection. And so just in general, an outline for what we'll be talking about today. We have first, Mary's going to discuss our mission. Then we'll talk about our 3 sites around the country. We'll go through the 4 fellowship tenets that we base our organization on. And then we're going to go into further detail about the fellowship and internship details. And then lastly, we'll address how we've adapted our program in light of COVID-19 and making sure that all of the fellows and everyone we serve is safe.
So to start off, our program is a 501c3 community health nonprofit organization. And our mission is a 3-part mission, which is building on the strengths of communities, improving the health and quality of life of our vulnerable neighbors, and preparing citizen service leaders for tomorrow's communities. And basically, so we've got service, community, and leadership. For service, we work to serve our vulnerable neighbors in the Black Belt region. And these include the elderly, the mentally ill, the isolated children. Hello. And those of low socioeconomic status. And then our second part of our mission is community. It's super important to us in trying to create change in the area. And we build off the ideas and values of local people and partner with other organizations to build on the strengths of our communities. And then we also emphasize leadership in educating our current fellows and being future leaders. And that's also just a big part of our program.
And so going into our different sites, the first site that was established in 2007 is here in Greensboro, where Marion and I are both right now. Greensboro is located in Hale County, and it has a population of approximately 2,500 people. It has a rich civil rights history, and is just this really vibrant combination of just like this old Southern town with this new life that we're trying to bring to it. And we also have the unique opportunity of working alongside Auburn University's renowned Rural Studios program. And so it's kind of this old Southern charm town that has a lot of new life brought to it by all these young people that are here through these programs. It's also the catfish capital of Alabama, and they have a lot of pride in this town. And so this is where Mary and I are, and this was again established in 2007.
So while Greensboro was our first location for the program, Marion was our second, and that's about a 30-minute drive from Greensboro. It's in Perry County, and it's a little different vibe over in Marion because there are 2 colleges there. You've got the Marion Military Institute, and then it's also got a super rich history as well. But they're in their early stages of the program, so they're more focused on the early stages of building a nonprofit. So they're doing a lot of community outreach, trying to establish their roots in Marion.
And lastly, one of our most exciting accomplishments of this year is the beginning of our Pomona site in Pomona, California, which, takes a lot of these principles that we're doing now in rural health and is focusing them in a more urban setting. And as to exactly how we went from Alabama to Pomona, might seem not necessarily intuitive, but basically our site director, Dr. Dorsey, who oversees the entire program, he's originally from Pomona, California, and kind of out on a limb moved to Alabama to start this organization and is now trying to see if, his mission can also be carried out in Pomona. So this is their first year and we're very excited that it was able to start in light of the pandemic and everything that's going on. So we are just very excited, and they, similar to Marion, carry out more of that grassroots building of an organization, and so they're trying to establish themselves as a resource for the Pomona community.
So the fellowship program is a gap year of 13 months, and it's offered to recent graduates, and then also we have an internship program and a volunteering program for current undergraduates. For the fellowship, the housing is provided, and then all fellows also receive a monthly stipend, which covers gases, moving expenses, food, any other expenses you have while living here.
And then at the bottom here, we're just going to go into kind of the different focuses that we have as an organization, the first being leadership development. And so, as we mentioned in our mission, leadership development is central, and we are, trying to prepare citizen servant leaders of tomorrow. And some of the ways we do that is through intentional community involvement. And so all fellows are assigned to a community engagement project. Mary gets to work alongside the rural studios that I just been talking about out of Auburn University. I personally work with a contractor named Mike and get to spend my Wednesday mornings going around and building and fixing parts of the different Horseshoe Farm properties and learning a lot of life skills related to tools and just general construction project. And so it's a great way to interact with members of our community in a non-health related way and just build those relationships. We also have an adopted fellow program in which families from the community very generously take in a fellow and basically allow them to start developing this home away from home and just support that fellow emotionally while they're here and potentially pretty far away from their family. We also make every effort to attend community events formally and informally. In light of COVID, we've really had to adapt to what community events we're able to go to. But we love going and sitting outside of church services and going to outdoor movie nights and movie screenings. And we've been finding ways to still connect with the community in light of COVID. And then also, as Mary mentioned, housing is provided to our fellows. And one of my favorite things is that those houses are located right in the community that you're serving. So you are surrounded by the neighbors and by the people that you get to work with, and you really just get to build a neighborly bond with those people. And so that kind of is how we're engaging with the community. No, sorry. I totally went right out of it. Okay.
Okay, so next in our leadership development, every Monday evening, we have group discussions led by Dr. Dorsey at the Greensboro site. And then Marion also joins in on those Monday discussions, and then Pomona hosts their own discussions. But during those, we've got throughout the year, we'll touch on different topics, but those are all rooted in these that are bulleted on the slide. So right now, we're talking about citizenship and the biopsychosocial approach to medicine. And then later in the year, we'll start progressing into leadership and management, the healthcare system, medicine, and idealism. So basically, these group discussions are set up where all of the fellows have a couple of assigned readings and videos that we need to watch and read. And they're usually very current issues and current articles that have been published. So it's nice to be able to reflect on what's going on in the world and then apply it to what we're doing in the town that we're located in and how we can affect and improve community health. And then usually following those discussions, we'll watch a movie that reflects on what we were just talking about.
And then so moving on to our community-based healthcare mission. We are a community health organization, and most of our fellows have some sort of interest or inclination or intention to work in the healthcare field in the future. And so this is a great opportunity to build on, those patient care skills for anyone who is interested in a career in medicine, health, or public health. And so one of my favorite ways that we're able to do that is through our Health Partners program, in which fellows are matched with individuals in the community that have been identified as people who could benefit from additional help navigating the healthcare system or the social services system. And while that navigation is an important part, realistically, what we're providing people is a stable, healthy, positive relationship. And so again, we're helping with that navigation, transportation, companionship, finances, and just meeting individualized health goals and making measurable improvements in these people's lives. I currently have 8 health partners right now, and we're all about that same number. And we just kind of get to drive around town and visit these health partners, and following restrictions that we've set through COVID, just continue to build relationships and support them in improving their lives. And so this is definitely one of my favorite parts of the program. And I have 100 stories I could tell already just about the interactions I've had with these health partners.
So another program that we run is our housing program support. So in Greensboro, we have 2 housing programs. Each house is the home to about 5 women who have a history of very severe mental illnesses. And basically the premise of these housing programs is to offer supportive, independent living to prevent in the hope that they don't have to go to assisted living or nursing homes, because they really prioritize their independence and being able to live on their own. And basically, as fellows, we go to their houses every day on a rotating basis. We help them with meal planning, shopping, personal care. We just spend time with them to help socialize. We'll run little errands for them because of COVID. We're really trying to minimize their exposure because they do have a lot of health concerns. So we've been doing the outside errands for them. And again, just the goal of this housing program is to provide housing, monitor their complex mental illness cases, and then reduce the hospitalizations and the cost of healthcare because many of these women can't afford more care in the normal healthcare system.
And then we also, due to COVID, our community center programs are on hold right now, and we're working effortlessly to try and find ways to adapt them. But here in Greensboro, we have our main office space that we call the hotel, and the downstairs of the hotel has been turned into a very large community center, in which in a normal year, we would constantly be inviting people in every day for organized activities and chances to engage and socialize with members of the community. And so these pictures are just from some of the past events that we've been able to hold at community center, but it's especially important for combating isolation in the community and giving people a sense of purpose. And right now, as we go around to our health partners, pretty much every single time they're asking, when are we going to reopen the community center? And so we're hoping, we're going to follow the trends and see what's recommended to us by health experts. But once we get in a space where we're able to reopen it, this is one of our main goals. And in the meantime, we're looking to maybe take advantage of the nicer weather that we're going to have for at least a few more weeks and possibly plan some outside events for the community.
Another program that we host is our youth programming. So because of COVID, this has definitely changed, and we've been trying to adapt our youth programming because most of the kids in Greensboro are not attending in-person classes. Most of it is conducted via Zoom. But usually for the youth programming, you'll go into the school. There's about two tutors per classroom. and they're working on their what they call a power hour that they'll go in 3 times a week, and basically they're just helping catch students up to where they should be in class. They're helping them finish their homework, and then they're also just there as a mentor, trying to provide some social support and just a good role model in life. And for now, because of COVID, we haven't been able to start our youth program yet, but it's definitely in the works. Hopefully by next week. Our plan is to go out into neighborhoods, 2 neighborhoods, and the fellows will set up at those neighborhoods a couple times a week with their tables. And basically it's kind of like a tutor on wheels. They'll go, and then one kid will come for an hour. You'll work with them, mentoring them, helping them with homework or just basic skills that they need in school that they're trying to catch up on. And then you'll see another kid for another hour. But hopefully we're doing that by next week.
Let's see. And then in addition to all of these programs that we run, one of the most important parts of the organization is gaining an understanding of nonprofit management and what it truly takes to run a nonprofit. And so as fellows, you'll have the opportunity to be assigned specific tasks related to running a nonprofit, of which you kind of take ownership of. And it can be anything from management and administration to finances to fundraising and development, public relations, recruitment, which is what Marion and I are doing, and then tracking program efficiency. And it's an opportunity to kind of remind yourself of the nitty gritty that goes into this type of work, you know, everything from cleaning spaces to changing air filters. It might not sound particularly glorious, but it's really important to think about when you're running an organization like this. And so anyone who's interested in potential like nonprofit management or work in just social services, I think this part of it is really beneficial to understand all of the groundwork that goes into being able to carry out a mission like that of Horseshoe Farm.
And because of COVID-19, Horseshoe Farm has really had to adapt all of its programming to comply with COVID-19 protocol. And just because our mission is to serve the community, we're really trying to protect the ladies that we serve and the people in the community that we're serving. So we don't want to do any harm. So right now, for the individual programs, such as Health Partners, when we go out, all of our meetings are outside. We're all socially distanced and wearing masks. A big thing that we are emphasizing that Rachel said is everything we're doing is mainly outdoors. When we can be outdoors, we are outdoors. And then we're also really limiting the number of people that are participating in small group settings with our community center programming. We've been trying to find ways to host events outside with a limited number of people. And then also just being aware that most of the people that we are working with are immunocompromised or have very severe health concerns. So basically just kind of moving around the community, assuming that everybody you're interacting with has COVID is definitely the mindset that we've been trying to adopt, just because we are responsible for the people we are interacting with, especially in the housing programs, and we have that responsibility to protect them. And yeah, everything really does look different. And so it's a cool, as Rachel was just mentioning, with being a nonprofit, you have a lot of say and influence in how we're able to adapt our programming to still function and meet what our mission is for the community.
Yeah, awesome. And in addition to that, we also, one of our site directors has a Master of Public Health, and we also have a very close relationship with the local hospital, Hale County Hospital here. And so we're really getting, real information in real time regarding, potential outbreaks or COVID spikes in the community, and we're responding accordingly. And so we're basing it off of all of this scientific and factually based information to inform our policies and how we carry forward. And so all of the adaptations that we've made to our programs are in light of that research, and we're really happy and thankful for those connections that we have to be better inform us and empower us to still carry out our programs in the safest way possible. No. And so that's the end of our presentation. So information regarding applying for the 2021-2022 fellowship cycle. Our upcoming deadline is quickly approaching November 15th, 2020. Feel free to contact us with any questions at the apply email that's listed below, and definitely visit our website for more information. This is also where you will find the application itself is linked in there. And so we will add a link into the chat section about if you're interested in receiving more information. You can click that link and fill it out, and we'll get back to you in the upcoming weeks. But until then, if anyone has any questions, we are definitely willing to answer them now. Okay, so we see the questions in the chat. Sorry about those if they came in while we were presenting. But we see, do you switch locations, or once you are assigned to a location, that is where you stay? You will be in the location to which you are assigned for the entire year, giving you, the maximum opportunity to immerse yourself in that community. You do get to request and preference which site you think you would be the best fit for, and we will take that into account and communicate that with you during your application process. However, you will be staying in that one site for the whole year. And then
it's also important when you are applying and preferencing locations, just keeping in mind that because each location has a different history within that site. So Greensboro is the oldest, most established site. Marion's still trying to establish themselves, and then Pomona's brand new. You're at a different stage as a nonprofit and trying to establish yourself in a community. So just seeing where you fit in that, and if you want a different experience in terms of the different stages of developing an organization, just keeping that in mind throughout the application process is helpful.
Mm-hmm. And then for the next question, in regards to internships, again, in a normal year, we would have both winter and summer shorter opportunities rather than that full year gap year opportunity. However, just at this moment, we have put those on hold, especially for this winter, just because, cases are spiking all around the United States, but unfortunately, especially here in rural Alabama. And so we will not be having an internship this winter, and we are working arduously to see if it would be potential for the summer, and more information would come out in the spring for that. But those are usually shorter, 1 month in the winter versus 3 months in the summer, which is just a shorter, still equally immersive opportunity for undergraduate students versus students that had recently graduated.
Another question, how many hours a week do you work? So we've kind of calculated it out, and we're working about 55 hours a week. So another question, of all the fun things you talked about today, what also gets done in Pomona and Marion, since this was for Greensboro? So for one different thing, we have the 2 housing programs in Greensboro, and then in contrast, Marion, Pomona, they have community engagements set up where they go out into the local nursing homes and spend time with them, kind of with the same idea of socializing, offering some type of healthcare support, being able to manage what their health goals are, and just being a friendly neighbor to them.
Right. And so basically the main difference I would say between Greensboro and the other sites is that the longer history of Greensboro has given us the opportunity to establish, these programs and organizations on our own, whereas Marion and Pomona, as they're trying to establish themselves within their communities, they are rather supporting existing organizations. And so while we have our housing program, they do very similar work, but with existing programs. And we run a Meals Out program where we deliver meals twice a week to combat food insecurity in our local community. And they do a very similar thing, but partner with existing organizations that provide food and donate meals to them. And so the work is very, very similar, just in slightly different capacities. And overall, we're all functioning under the same mission.
Another question, what type of opportunities does this open up as far as networking is concerned? Can this also be put on a resume for med school applications and used for volunteer hours? I know Rachel and I are both applying to med school. Most people are applying to med school here, and this is definitely going on our applications. I mean, you get an incredible experience in terms of serving a community, seeing how rural and community health functions, especially in contrast to if you're coming from more city-like areas. Can this be used for volunteer hours? Yes.
I think so. It's technically funneled under a service gap year. And so I think any sort of fellowship, there's certainly an educational component to it, and you'd want to be transparent about the fact that there is a stipend, but at the end of the day, the work that you are doing is service oriented and intended to support a community. So I think it's very valuable for your resume, but also just for your own development of your personal skills. I think I'm leaving here with a extremely in-depth understanding of social determinants of health, and how, you know, being in a rural setting, there are both benefits and challenges to health that are slightly different from other settings, and just the diverse population you're able to work with will better equip you for whatever field you choose to enter, whether that be medicine or not, or public health, or we have individuals here that have no interest in pursuing a health career and just have a general interest in health. So that being said, I find it extremely valuable to both my application, and it has been coming up in, you know, interviews, and it's really been a great opportunity to talk about it and discuss what I'm learning. But it's both important for your growth and for, you know, an experience to develop your skills.
And in terms of networking, you're definitely connected with all the past fellows from previous years, and then also the fellowship is super based on relationships that you're forming within the community. So you're growing very strong relationships with other organization leaders, other students nearby, and we've got a lot of guest speakers that you grow relationships with throughout the year.
Next one. What are your favorite and least favorite things about this program?
Well, in terms of programming, my favorite programming is the health partners. As Rachel said, everybody has about 8. That seems to be the average, but you see your health partners once a week, and each meeting is completely different from the previous. One health partner, I help him on his farm because he loves the social aspect of having fellows over and helping him grow his farm. Others were doing chair exercises. Others were doing Zumba together. Each one's very different, and not only are they getting something out of it, but I'm learning a lot about the social determinants of health and how just like a simple relationship of one visit a week can make a difference that you do see throughout the year.
Yeah, I would second that. As I've already kind of discussed, the Health Partners program has just been so influential in changing my perspective on healthcare, health, and I just truly enjoy the relationships I've been able to form with my health partners. As for my least favorite part, I think it's not necessarily related to the program itself, but just in general, we are very much restricted by so many things outside of our control. And, you know, you have this passion to help people and to make differences and to leave an impact on, you know, Greensboro or whichever site you're in. But you are restricted by, you know, insurance and all of these outside factors that basically, for lack of a better term, restrict the work that we're able to do with our health partners. And so it's oftentimes I leave a little bit frustrated, just feeling like I let someone down or wasn't able to help someone by no fault of my own or no fault of the program, just in what we are truly able to do existing in, you know, this system that in some ways just challenges our ability to help people as much as we'd like to.
Are there any fees for this program? No, there are not. The program does a great job in trying to make the fellowship as accessible for any student. So when you do have to drive, you have to have a car here. So when you do drive down here, they reimburse you with the traveling fee, depending on how far you came from. You get in Greensboro, you get a $700 monthly stipend. And then each site is a little variable, just dependent on what the level of living is. Cost of living, thank you. And then your housing is covered due to the gracefulness of donors and people who support the program. They've given housing to us, so those are covered. But yeah, the only expenses you have are covered by your monthly stipend.
And so the fellowship. Yes, so our deadline for the fall is November 15th. However, we do have a spring deadline of February 21st, and we offer equal consideration to whichever deadline is suited for you. It might just be a peace of mind to have, this thing lined up after graduation earlier in your fall semester rather than your spring semester, but it's totally up to you. We'd love to be able to read your application as soon as possible, but I applied in the spring and it's equal consideration regardless of which date you choose to apply. So whichever one is most fitting for you, I encourage you to apply then.
Yeah. What school did you go to undergrad? I went to Northwestern University.
And I went to Villanova University right outside of Philadelphia, but we honestly have people from all over the country. There's a few of us from the Northeast, some from the Alabama area, Virginia, Mary's from Spokane, Washington, California, Nevada, all over the place. So even one of our fellows is an international student. My roommate, she's from Ethiopia. So we'll accept anyone from anywhere as long as they have a passion for community health. And how many applicants are accepted for each location. So our Greensboro site is the largest. We have 14 fellows here. Marion, there are 6 fellows. In Pomona, there are 8 fellows, and that's grown with each year of the fellowship. So it might, so that's a total of 28, but across the country, it's expected that hopefully with COVID, with restrictions, if they don't get too bad, we'll be able to at least meet that mark, if not accept even more fellows for the next year.
Do the applicants have to get transportation to the location, or is that provided? So I believe this is in reference to just getting to your assigned location. You have to have a car, and then most of us have driven down here. One of our fellows flew down here and then bought a car while here because she's just getting her license. But yes, you definitely have to have a car while here because a big part of the program is driving people to their doctor's appointments and attending those appointments with them, and then running errands for a lot of our participants. But yes, you do need a car.
Will there eventually be summer programs at all 3 locations? I think that's definitely a goal that we're hoping to accomplish in the next few years. So I would say eventually, yes. How soon? I have no clue. But that's definitely something we could talk about more personally. If you reach out via email, I could try and get more specific information related to plans of offering internships at the 2 other sites, because I think that would be a great idea. What's next? What would help an applicant stand out during the application process?
The cliche, show, don't tell, but definitely showing that you're passionate and your experiences would be able to give something to this program and how you'd be able to fit into the community, and just showing that you genuinely care for the improvement of community health. Being able to show how flexible and adaptable you are, that's a really big thing, especially for COVID. Trying to figure out how to adapt all of our programming it would be incredible.
Yes. In addition to that, just general things you could be doing if you do have, potentially a few more years, if you're in your first few years of college, some opportunities you could seek out in undergrad that would help prepare you and that we'd love to see on an application, or any sort of leadership experience. It doesn't have to be in something health related or even service related, but you really do have the opportunity to take ownership of the work you're doing here, and it takes a sense of leadership skills that you will want to have developed before you get here, and that you will continue to develop once you get here. But we love seeing leadership experiences as well as a commitment to service that, you know, extended throughout your college experience. As I think there's a particular mindset that you develop through continued service, and it's extremely effective once you get here to just have that genuine passion. And while you do not need to have studied anything related to health or biology in your undergrad to apply, we'll definitely want to make sure you at least have some sort of interest in learning about health and the implications of health and social determinants during your time here. So it's also great to discuss why exactly you're choosing to apply to a community health fellowship over some other sort of fellowship. And so those all will come through in the essay questions that are a part of the program. And so there's a part of the application, I should say. There is a demographic section that is more so just to understand who you are as a person. And then this essay questions and the personal statement and your references will give us a deeper opportunity to understand just exactly why you feel motivated to be here.
Does the application November deadline usually fill up spots, and then the second deadline in February fill any remainder spots, or are the applications reviewed all together? So in the past, it definitely seems to be half are filled in the fall deadline and then half are filled in the winter deadline. Yeah.
And there's the potential to be waitlisted as well. So if you're not if you apply to that first deadline, there's you will be reconsidered at that second deadline if they do not accept you right away. And so I do encourage you to apply early if you do have the time, but I know this is usually a busy time in a semester, so don't worry about it if you can't. There are plenty of us here that were all did not apply until that spring deadline. And so for the next one, would prior experience in community health nonprofit in the Black Belt be an edge over other applicants? Well, we do consider all applications equally, but we definitely take your past experiences into account, and that would certainly demonstrate an understanding of the community you'll be serving and potentially give you, a perspective that would allow you to be extremely successful here. So it's definitely something we'd love to hear about and talk about. For sure. That's very impressive.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Mary, Rachel, thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I know students got a lot of great insights for this, and I'm excited to share the recording for those that weren't able to attend, but you guys have such an amazing program, and we appreciate you taking the time today to answer our questions, give some insights, and talk about what the future is going to hold with some of those projects.
Absolutely. We did get one more question. Are there Zoom interviews? Yes, we will be doing that. There's a 2-part interview process where the first one's usually a phone call, but we may be doing Zoom this year just because everybody has Zoom. And then there's usually a second interview if you get through that wave, which is also a Zoom interview.
For that link, just give me 1 second. I will pull that up.
We've started.
Here, can you? Sorry, Mary's pulling that up right now. All right, sorry, it's going to be a messy Google form link. But ultimately, you can click that link and just provide us again with some basic demographic information, and we'll be able to send out application deadline reminders to you, as well as connect you with other fellows. And if any of you do have a particular interest in one of the other sites, I know we definitely conduct this through a Greensboro lens naturally. We'd definitely be able and willing to connect you with a fellow at one of those other sites to give you a better understanding of their experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. We'll be sure to share any upcoming information you provide to all students. And again, this recording really kind of gave a good overview of the organization, everything available.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
And our names are Mary
And Rachel.